The distant planet of Kira hung silent in the vast darkness of space, its once vibrant atmosphere now crackling with deadly radiation. Ari, a young Larian communication specialist, sat hunched over her console, her delicate translucent fingers trembling as she worked. The monitoring systems around her flickered with urgent red warnings, each pulse a heartbeat of impending doom. The Larian civilization had always been known for their advanced technology and peaceful nature. Tall and slender, with skin that shimmered like mother of pearl and eyes that reflected the complexity of their intelligent species, they were more suited to scientific research than survival. Their bodies were fragile, designed for intellectual pursuits rather than physical challenges. Suddenly, the main communication array erupted with a series of violent electrical discharges. The solar storm was approaching faster than anyone had predicted. Massive radiation waves were about to sweep across the planet, threatening to annihilate everything in their path. Ari knew they had less than 12 standard galactic hours before total extinction. She began broadcasting distress signals on every known frequency. Her voice, calm but urgent, repeated the coordinates and the dire situation. Urgent planetary emergency. Complete radiation contamination imminent. Population at critical risk. Immediate evacuation required. The communication center, a massive, crystalline structure that had stood for thousands of years, now seemed more like a fragile glass sculpture ready to shatter. Outside the reinforced windows, the sky transformed into a terrifying canvas of violent orange and red, with electromagnetic waves dancing like deadly serpents. Most galactic civilizations had protocols for planetary emergencies. Most civilizations would immediately respond to a distress call. But the Larians had learned a harsh truth over centuries of interstellar communication. They were considered weak, too delicate to be worth saving. Previous rescue attempts by other, advanced species had always failed. The Larians' unique biological structure made standard evacuation protocols ineffective. Their thin, translucent skin could not withstand standard radiation protection methods. Their respiratory systems were so complex that conventional life support systems would cause more harm than good. Ari remembered the historical records. Dozens of past distress calls had gone unanswered. The Galactic Council would likely discuss their situation, file reports, and ultimately do nothing. Their species would become another footnote in cosmic history, a civilization that existed and then simply disappeared. But Ari refused to accept defeat. She continued broadcasting, her fingers moving with a precision that betrayed years of training. Each signal carried not just coordinates and threat levels, but also detailed scientific data about their species' unique biological requirements. In the communication center, other Larian specialists worked alongside her. They knew the chances were slim, but hope was the last resource they had not yet exhausted. Complex holographic displays showed the approaching radiation storm, its massive energy signatures promising total destruction. The planet's protective magnetic fields were already collapsing. Entire regions were experiencing rapid temperature increases. Underground research facilities were reporting critical system failures. The countdown to extinction had begun. Ari's last hope rested on an unlikely possibility that somewhere in Tusat, the vast universe, a species might exist with both the technological capability and the compassion to attempt a rescue. She knew it was a long shot. Most advanced civilizations saw rescue missions as economically impractical, especially for a species as fragile as the Larians. As she continued broadcasting, a strange calm settled over her. She had done everything possible. Her people's scientific archives, their cultural knowledge, their entire civilization's history was being compressed into emergency data packets, ready to be transmitted to anyone who might listen. The communication console began to overheat. Warning alarms started blaring. Radiation levels were climbing exponentially. In the background, she could hear the first sounds of structural failure, metal twisting, support systems breaking down. Ari took a deep breath and continued broadcasting, one final message of hope into the infinite, uncaring darkness of space. Little did she know that somewhere, millions of light years away, a human starship was about to receive her desperate call. The Horizon starship hummed with quiet efficiency, as Captain Elena Kim reviewed the incoming transmission. Her bridge crew worked silently, their movements precise and controlled. The strange signal from an unknown planetary system had caught their attention immediately. Most space exploration missions were routine: mapping, data collection, occasional resource surveys. But this transmission was different. It carried a sense of urgency that made Elena's experienced instincts tingle. Park Jun, the ship's radiation expert, ran the first analysis. His fingers danced across holographic displays, converting complex data into readable formats. "Captain," he called out, "this is no ordinary distress signal. The species broadcasting is completely unknown to our databases." The ship's central computer began processing the information. Strange biological data mixed with complex mathematical equations and geographical coordinates. It was like a scientific puzzle waiting to be solved. Elena understood something critical. This was not a standard rescue mission. The broadcasted data suggested a species with incredible scientific knowledge, but also extreme vulnerability. Most space agencies would ignore such a transmission. Rescue missions were expensive, risky, and often politically complicated. But humans were different. Their history was filled with impossible rescues, with pushing beyond known limitations. Where other species saw challenges, humans saw opportunities. "Prepare emergency response protocols," Elena commanded. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed determination. The bridge crew knew that look. When Captain Kim decided on a mission, nothing would stop her. Kai Park, the engineering specialist, began calculating potential rescue strategies. The transmission suggested extreme radiation conditions that would kill most known life forms. Standard protective suits would be useless. They would need to design completely new intervention technologies. Hana Lee, the medical officer, started reviewing the biological data. The broadcasted information about the alien species was mind-boggling. Their cellular structure was so complex and delicate that traditional medical approaches would fail instantly. "We'll need to create adaptive radiation shields," Kai suggested. "Something that can modify in real time based on environmental conditions." The ship's computer began running thousands of simulation scenarios. Each calculation revealed how challenging the rescue would be. Survival probability was less than 12% with current technological capabilities. But humans had a history of beating impossible odds. Elena remembered stories from her grandmother, tales of human rescue missions that defied all scientific predictions, missions where human creativity and determination had saved entire populations against mathematically impossible chances. "We're going," she announced. No debate, no discussion, just a simple statement of intent. The bridge crew didn't question her. They started preparing, each understanding their critical role. Specialized equipment was pulled from storage. Advanced radiation protection suits were checked and rechecked. Medical containment units were prepared for potential alien physiology. Park Jun's radiation simulation showed the approaching storm would destroy everything in its path. The alien planet's protective systems were collapsing. They had a narrow window, less than 48 hours to plan and execute a rescue. Complex holographic models showed the potential rescue routes. Each path was filled with extreme radiation zones that would destroy conventional spacecraft. Standard navigation systems would fail within minutes, but the human team saw these challenges as puzzles to be solved, not obstacles to avoid. Kai began modifying the ship's protective systems. He was creating something entirely new, adaptive radiation shields that could change molecular structure in milliseconds. Traditional engineering principles were being rewritten. Hana prepared medical intervention protocols. She studied the alien biological data, creating flexible treatment strategies that could adapt to unknown physiological responses. Her medical kit was no longer just a collection of tools, but a flexible life-saving system. The horizon began its preparations. Powerful engines hummed with potential energy. Advanced sensors scanned the incoming data. A rescue mission was about to begin, a mission that most species would consider impossible. Humanity was responding, and nothing would stand in their way. As the ship prepared to jump into hyperspace, Elena looked at her crew. They weren't just a team. They were humanity's representatives, rescuers, explorers, hope personified. The journey to save an unknown civilization was about to begin. The horizon cut through space like a silver arrow, its hull gleaming with specialized radiation-deflecting technology. Captain Elena Kim watched the approaching planetary system with intense concentration. Massive electromagnetic storms churned around Kira, creating a deadly barrier that would destroy most spacecraft within seconds. Park Jun's radiation monitoring system blinked rapidly. Incoming energy waves are 300% more intense than our initial calculations, he reported. His voice remained steady, but a thin layer of sweat covered his forehead. The ship's adaptive shields began pulsing with complex energy patterns. Kai Park had designed them to change molecular structure in microseconds, absorbing and redirecting dangerous radiation. It was a technology that pushed the boundaries of current scientific understanding. Outside, the space around them looked like a violent ocean of electric currents. Massive radiation waves crashed against the horizon's protective barriers. Each impact would have vaporized a conventional spacecraft instantly. But this was a human vessel, built with determination and scientific innovation. Ari, the Larian, communication specialist, watched the approaching human ship with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Her people had sent hundreds of distress signals over centuries. No one had ever responded. And now, this strange, silver vessel was navigating through what seemed like an impossible environment. The Horizon's bridge was a picture of controlled chaos. Each crew member moved with precision, monitoring systems that were working beyond their designed capabilities. Elena's hands remained steady on the navigation controls, guiding the ship through deadly radiation channels. Approaching primary contamination zone, Hanali announced. Her medical systems were preparing complex containment protocols. Everything they knew about survival was being challenged. Suddenly, a massive radiation surge hit the ship. The entire vessel shuddered. Normal spacecraft would have been destroyed, but the Horizon's adaptive shields absorbed the energy, redistributing it across molecular barriers that seemed to breathe and flex. Kai watched his engineering displays with intense focus. The shields were performing beyond his most optimistic simulations. Each microsecond brought new data, new challenges to overcome. The Larian monitoring stations could barely believe what they were seeing. A spacecraft was not just surviving the deadly radiation, it was navigating through it with incredible precision. Their most advanced scientific models suggested this was impossible. Elena understood the psychological impact of their approach. This wasn't just a rescue mission. This was a demonstration of human capability, of a species that refused to accept limitations. Park Jun's radiation protection systems were working at maximum capacity. Complex algorithms calculated and recalculated survival probabilities with each passing second. The ship was literally rewriting the rules of space survival. As they approached Kira, the full extent of the planetary disaster became clear. Massive radiation storms covered entire continents. The planet's protective systems were collapsing. Any conventional rescue attempt would fail within moments. But humans were not conventional. The Horizon began its final approach. Specialized scanning systems penetrated the radiation clouds, mapping safe approach vectors. Each movement was calculated with millimeter precision. Ari watched in complete amazement. The human ship moved like a living creature, adapting to environmental challenges that would destroy any other spacecraft. It was more than technology. It was a demonstration of something deeper, a refusal to accept defeat. Preparing initial contact protocols, Elena commanded. Her voice was calm, but her eyes showed the excitement of a species about to achieve the impossible. The ship's communication systems began broadcasting specialized frequency waves. They were not just signals, but complex mathematical sequences, designed to minimize potential communication barriers. As the Horizon broke through the final radiation barrier, the Larian monitoring systems erupted with impossible readings. A spacecraft had not just survived, it had conquered an environment that should have destroyed it within seconds. Kai's engineering systems recorded every microsecond of the approach. This would revolutionize understanding of space travel, radiation, protection, and survival technologies. The human rescue mission had begun, and nothing would stand in their way. The Horizon's landing sequence was nothing short of miraculous. Specialized protective bubbles extended from the ship's hull, creating adaptive environmental zones that could sustain Larian life. Park June's radiation filtering systems hummed with complex energy patterns, creating safe spaces where moments before there was only deadly radiation. Ari watched in complete amazement as the first human rescue teams emerged. They moved like warriors and scientists combined, each step calculated, each movement purposeful. Their protective suits seemed to breathe and adapt, changing color and molecular structure to match the hostile environment. Hana Lee led the medical intervention team. Her equipment was unlike anything the Larians had ever seen. Complex medical nanobots prepared to create personalized protection zones for each individual. Where other species would have seen an impossible rescue, humans saw a challenge to be solved. The first group of Larians to be evacuated were the most vulnerable: children, elderly, and critically injured individuals. Hana's medical systems created individual protection bubbles, each perfectly calibrated to the specific biological needs of the patient. Kai's engineering team worked with incredible speed. Massive transport tubes began moving entire research, archives, scientific databases, and cultural repositories. They weren't just rescuing a population, they were preserving an entire civilization's knowledge. Captain Elena Kim understood the psychological impact of their mission. This was more than a rescue. This was a statement about what intelligent life could achieve when compassion met technological innovation. The radiation storm continued to rage outside. Massive energy waves that would have destroyed any conventional rescue attempt were effortlessly managed by human technology. Each moment demonstrated the incredible adaptability of human rescue strategies. Larian scientists watched in disbelief. Their most advanced technological models had suggested rescue was impossible. Yet here were humans, creating safe zones in an environment that should have killed everything within seconds. Park June's radiation monitoring systems worked over time. Complex algorithms calculated and recalculated survival strategies. The rescue wasn't just happening, it was being scientifically documented with unprecedented precision. Entire Larian research centers were carefully transported. Massive data storage units were moved with incredible care, each containing centuries of scientific knowledge. The humans treated these archives like precious living objects. Communication was challenging. The Larians' complex language systems were nothing like human communication. But Hana and her team had prepared specialized translation devices that could interpret not just words, but complex emotional and scientific concepts. As the evacuation continued, something unexpected happened. The Larians began to understand that this rescue was more than a technical operation. It was an act of pure compassion. Humans were saving a species they had never met, with no expectation of reward. Children were moved first, their delicate bodies protected by adaptive medical bubbles. Elderly researchers were carefully transported, their lifetime of scientific knowledge preserved. Each movement was a dance of technological precision and human care. Elena watched the operation with calm determination. This was what humanity represented, the ability to reach beyond self-interest, to help those who could not help themselves. No mathematical model could calculate the value of compassion. The Horizon's internal systems continued to adapt. Entire sections of the ship were being transformed into living spaces compatible with Larian biological requirements. It wasn't just a rescue ship. It was becoming a mobile home for an entire civilization. Kai's engineering team worked on creating long-term survival strategies. They weren't just thinking about immediate rescue, but about helping the Larians rebuild. Portable research stations, adaptive living environments, specialized survival technologies. As hours passed, thousands of Larians were rescued. Each rescue was a triumph of human technological innovation and compassionate intervention. The impossible was becoming possible with each passing moment. Ari, who had initially broadcast the distress signal, watched in tears. Her people, who had been moments away from complete extinction, were being saved by strangers from another world. The rescue was more than a mission. It was a transformation, not just of the Larians, but of how intelligent species could perceive each other. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of interstellar rescue. The news spread across star systems faster than light itself. A small, fragile species had been completely rescued by humans, a feat considered impossible by every advanced civilization. Galactic communication networks buzzed with the unprecedented story. Initial reports showed stunning statistics. Over 93% of the Larian population had been saved, their entire scientific and cultural heritage preserved. No other species in recorded galactic history had ever achieved such a comprehensive rescue. Ari became the primary diplomatic contact between Larians and humans. Her role transformed from a desperate communication specialist to an ambassador of hope. She carried with her not just the gratitude of her people, but a new understanding of interstellar cooperation. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of advanced civilizations watched recordings of the human rescue mission. Many could not believe what they were seeing. A species they had previously considered primitive had accomplished what their most advanced technologies could not. Park Jun's technical documentation of the rescue became a scientific landmark. His detailed analysis of radiation protection technologies revolutionized understanding of space survival. Research institutions across multiple star systems began studying human rescue protocols. Captain Elena Kim was invited to multiple planetary systems. Her simple presentation, showing how human determination and compassion could overcome seemingly impossible challenges, inspired entire generations of space explorers. Kai's adaptive shield technologies became the new standard for space exploration. What was once considered experimental technology was now seen as a breakthrough in protective systems. Spacecraft design would never be the same. The Larians began sharing their advanced scientific knowledge with humans. What started as a rescue mission became a profound cultural and scientific exchange. Two completely different species found common ground in their pursuit of knowledge and survival. Diplomatic channels opened rapidly. The human rescue was more than a mission. It was a statement about the potential of intelligent life. Where other civilizations saw challenges, humans saw opportunities for cooperation. Hanali's medical innovations became the foundation for new interspecies medical research. Her adaptive medical technologies showed how understanding could bridge biological differences. Hospitals across multiple planets began adopting her research methods. The economic impact was significant. Trade agreements, scientific collaborations, and cultural exchanges began to form. The Larian-Human Alliance became a model of interstellar cooperation. Smaller galactic civilizations looked at the rescue with hope. If humans could save the Larians, perhaps they could be saved too. The concept of rescue was no longer just a technical challenge. It was a humanitarian possibility. Elena understood the deeper significance of their mission. It wasn't about technological superiority. It was about demonstrating that compassion could be the most powerful technology of all. The Larian archives revealed something unexpected. Their civilization had been on the brink of discovering revolutionary, scientific principles. Now protected and preserved, their knowledge would continue to develop. Political systems across the galaxy began reassessing their rescue protocols. The human approach challenged everything they knew about interspecies assistance. Survival was no longer just about technological capability, but about willingness to help. Ari worked tirelessly to document the rescue. Her communications became a bridge between cultures. She showed how a single distress signal could change the understanding of intelligent life across the universe. The horizon became more than a ship. It became a symbol of what intelligent species could achieve when they looked beyond their own immediate interests. Museums across multiple planets created exhibits about the rescue. Scientific conferences began discussing the human approach. Researchers from different species studied how humans combined technological innovation with compassionate intervention. As months passed, the rescue became legendary. Children in different star systems heard stories about how humans had saved an entire civilization from certain destruction. It was more than a story. It was a new mythology of hope. The galaxy had changed, and it all started with a simple decision to help those who could not help themselves.